For me, at number 4, Jake, I know we have the Colts coming up here. So we talk about their quarterback situation. We talk about your Nick Foles. We talk about your Gardner Minshew. These are guys who won football games. Nick Foles got a Super Bowl under his belt. I played with Nick, great guy, great teacher. And there's someone in this draft, Jake, a quarterback who needs a great teacher, right? Gardner Minshew can show him, some different techniques, how to throw the ball over the mountains, whatever you want there. Anthony Richardson. I got him going to the Colts, Jake. I got Anthony Richardson going to the Colts. I know you mentioned he's not ready to start yet. Hey, once he steps on that football field, he gets that playbook down. He has Nick Foles to coach him up. Gardner Minshew, who's found some success at different places. Jags, Eagles. Same thing, Nick Foles, Eagles as well, Rams. So he has some folks that can show him the way. So I'm confident that, if Anthony Richardson does get on that roster, let's say he sits for training OTAs, training camp, and maybe throughout the season, Nick Foles starts things off. And then, hey, once he gets once Nick Foles does his thing, Anthony Richardson understands the speed of the game. He's able to call some calls from the sideline to understand what's going on. Then I think we get Anthony Richardson in there, right, and see kind of what he does there. So I like Anthony Richardson going to the Colts. People just turn on his tape, man. My man did a backflip at the pro day and set it off. After he did that, and I think someone mentioned this, but they were like, hey, when you're at your pro day, show off, like show everything. So once he did that backflip, I was like, oh, sign him. And Jake, you were high on him at first. Jake, you were high on him a long time ago. So to see a guy like this go fourth in the draft would be great. And Jake, I knew he was going to be special. I think me and my lady, we were watching the game against Utah. She was kind of casually watching it, and it was a 2-point conversion play, that jump spin where like the guy thought he tackled him and he spun out of it and threw a touchdown. When I saw that play, I was like, "Oh, he's him, he's him." So I got Anthony Richardson, Colts, 4th pick. Like I said, home run ability, and he has the wow factor.
I'm with you. I have Anthony Richardson to the Colts, and the reasons you stated. They signed Minshew to start, and I think this puts him in position where there's no pressure. Richardson, as good as you can be, you're not going to be needed to be our starter. We're going to take this slow. If, by any means you outplay him in practice, we can have that conversation, but you were a 1-year starter, to be fair. There were other guys there. Emory Jones was there in Florida, so Kyle Trask, guys like that. So you didn't get your opportunity until this past year. You look good, but there's some things we just want to work on. No, I think it makes a lot of sense, Cam. And, I think Minshew, people forget, is a solid quarterback. I don't think he gets enough respect. He's had to come in a pinch and make things happen. And Sam Ehlinger's also on the roster. I'm not really high on him either, but, it gives you you have depth. You have 4 quarterbacks at that point. And, I think he's the best scrambling quarterback in the draft. He's got arm talent, for days, so to speak. Effortless thrower of the football, can really layer it over linebackers. He's going to have his highs and lows. And I think this is somebody that, compares very similarly to a Patrick Mahomes in the fact that he's not necessarily ready to start day one, because Patrick Mahomes a little different, right? He played way more than him. He had more experience, but people forget Mahomes played in that air raid style offense. Didn't throw a lot of picks. He was my number 1 quarterback in that draft. Loved him, but Mahomes didn't start right away. That was Alex Smith. So when he took over that last game of the year, to kind of get him some reps, because they had already clinched a spot in the playoffs, they started to see, okay, this guy is literally who we thought he was. The next year he's starting. Could be something like that. Minshew's a 1-year thing, and then, they're in the playoff race, wherever. They clinch the playoff berth, and then week 18, you got Anthony Richardson. Hey, you're starting to see what you can do. Next year, after he shows you some things, he starts. So I love this, and I think Chris Ballard is going to be jumping over the moon, because you didn't have to make any sort of trade. He just fell into your lap. And I'll say this right now, Cam, Anthony Richardson has elite level potential. We are talking on the level of Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the second best player in the NFL. If he reaches his potential, he'll be right below Patrick Mahomes. I think he's that legit. I think he's got Cam Newton's ability to make plays, off script with his legs. And I think he breaks tackles well. He's got it all. And so I think really he just needs to put it all together, as far as a technical standpoint. We'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, that's my thoughts on him.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, they gave the man number 15 at University of Florida. The only other
They
person that
knew.
They knew. I mean, Tim Tebow wore that number. I thought that thing was going to be retired and hang it up in the rafters. But
so weird, it's not. He's the best college football player of all time.
Yeah, and then Anthony Richardson gets his number and like throws touchdowns and spins on people and does backflip. Like, come on.
They knew.
Yeah,
they knew, man.
It's a great It's a great compliment, and I think it's on Anthony Richardson at this point, right, to make sure that jersey's hung up forever, that nobody else gets it. But no, you just mentioned it. Just he could be one of the better players to play in the NFL next year, right? Depending on how things go, and if he gets a great coach, a great quarterback coach to walk him through the process, right? Walk him through, not run. Just walk that young man through.